friends, friends of film, and everyone in between. Welcome to the Film Folklore Podcast. I am Jed Props, and I am joined today by Justin Sound.
Hello.
Heather Ray Costumes.
Hello there.
And that's it. No Chris and Zoe today. But...
I think Chris and Zoe are still together, aren't they? Megan, you might want to check up on your man.
We texted both of them, and they just responded with very cryptic emojis. So I'm not really sure what any of it means, where they are.
I think I can decipher this. They are, okay, Zoe got called back to the White House for her post as the czar of kittens.
That makes sense.
And now Chris is with her as her assistant. So
that makes sense.
They're both playing with kittens. That's what all those emojis with the grenades and
in the cat heads.
Kittens.
In the cat heads.
kittens mean.
Yeah. There was a
and confetti. That's not a grenade. That's confetti. Okay.
Very different. Very different.
It's Chris's version of T-shirt cannon because there isn't one for that. So that's them. And we are back with an episode of SOS. I'm going to apologize right out of the gate, as the title is going to suggest. This episode does have some heavy and sensitive subject matter. I will give trigger warnings as we get to those pieces, and we're going to get into it. But I want us to start with a lighter icebreaker, and I think I might know where I'm going with this. It's going to be Find the Fake Movie Title. What?
Ding, ding, ding.
All right. So, a little refresher. We have 3 movies. 2 are real. 1 is fake. All of these movies involve animals. That's the theme.
Copy animals.
Y'all ready to play?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The first title is Supercock. The second title is The Amazing Dobermans. And the third title is Horse Cop, Bad Cop.
No matter what the movie's about, Supercock is the answer to the correct answer.
So you're saying Supercock is the fake movie?
No.
Oh, no. You're saying that's a real one?
That's absolutely the real one.
So which one do you think is the fake one?
I wasn't even listening to the other.
You had
something
me at
about
Supercock.
A cop and 2 horses or something.
That's a YouTube video, and I don't recommend watching it.
Horse cop, bad cop, and please, for the love of God, let that one be real.
So yeah, it was Supercock, Amazing Dobermans, Horse Cop, Bad Cop.
I'm going with the middle one, or actually, yes, please let the third one be the real title.
Okay, so y'all are saying, so with that said, y'all are saying Amazing Dobermans is the fake?
I'm saying, that's not what I said.
Oh, okay.
I said,
I feel like you're hedging somehow.
Yes, I also hope, so I'm going with the Dobermans.
I hope the horse cop, bad cop is real. But I'm going with Supercock is the fake one.
Okay. All right. Okay. So the fake movie is, drumroll, Horse Cop, Bad Cop.
That's... I'm so torn. Like, it's disappointing. At the same time, please tell me what Supercock is about.
Let's get on that script for Horse Cop, Bad Cop. Supercock. Funny you ask. It's from 1975. It had a 5.3 out of 10 on IMDb.
Is this
It did not register on the tomato meter.
Oh.
The plot is an American cowboy in the Philippines gets mixed up in cockfighting.
Oh, okay. I was hoping it had something to do with the roosters. I was
The poster has 2 taglines on it. One is, "Whoever said size doesn't count was a real dick."
I'm in. I don't know if I can watch a movie about cockfighting, but,
Yeah. The story of a man, his bird, and their greatest challenge. That's the other one.
I still think it's porn.
It's not, but I also haven't seen it. So, And then The Amazing Dobermans is from 1976. It has a 5.1 out of 10 on IMDb, 42% on the tomato meter. The plot is an ex-con man and his 5 trained Dobermans help a Treasury Department agent stop a racketeer and his gang. Yes, it's that complicated. These movie posters, by the way, we'll get them on the website, but these are amazing, no pun intended. Like, if you see the movie poster, there's Dobermans that are busting through like a circus paper wall or whatever, and there's flames, and one of them has dynamite in its teeth.
It's actually exactly how I imagined the poster to be.
Yeah, sorry, the tagline on this is Amazing Commando Canine Caper of All Time. Oh, wait, no, sorry, that was cut off. They're back in action because it's a sequel. That's a teaser for later. You're going to learn more. In the most amazing commando canine caper of all time. There we go.
All those hard K sounds. How can you go wrong?
Somebody loves alliteration.
Yeah.
All right. So
hard Ks are funny. I hope it's a comedy.
It's a comedy with a K.
Yes.
So
hard K.
That's how I want to agree with everything now. Hard K.
Hard K.
Yeah. Hey, you coming?
They'll sweep the nation.
You coming to the movie later? Hard K.
Hard K.
Remind me to stop being friends with that guy. All right. So, Justin, I don't want you to feel bad here because I also have done some score counting to try to get us tallied up with season 2. And now you have to remember I'm not good at math, but if I look at initially, Zoe seems to be in the lead. She has 832 points. But if I say minus Chris and Heather Ray were not present for all of this, then if I'm carrying that 1 and I put some umlauts in there, and then I just put like this code word, and then I add 6 points for 6 shits and giggles, then this is wild. With those adjustments, Justin currently has the lead with 4 total points.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah,
I hope you keep your winning streak.
I get that math.
Yeah.
Did you get that one right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I got to work harder.
It's
not be distracted.
It's the slow and steady wins the race. That's how Justin's going to come out on top of this, because the points very much matter. So
I'm waiting for Final Jeopardy.
That's where I shine. By the way,
I have to think about that. How would I even do it? All right. Anyway. All right. So thank you all for playing. That always makes me happy. And we're going to need it because this episode of SOS is called Animals Were Definitely Harmed. Yes. Research for today's episode comes from, of course, Collider, Wikipedia, the American Humane Society, PETA, and another favorite of mine, the AV Club. I should utilize them more often because they're fantastic. And so to get us going, we're going to go all the way back to the year 1877 with the formation of the American Humane Society. So open question to y'all. What do you know about the American Humane Association? AKA the society.
I mean, they look out for the welfare of animals. Mm-hmm. You will see that no animal was harmed in the making of this production at the end of the credits. Usually, as we will see, sometimes they don't get that little disclaimer.
That's all true. Anything, Justin?
I don't think so. I mean, that sounds about right.
The reason I'm asking you all is because I was curious because, I mean, after researching this and putting it together, I just realized how little I knew about the American
I mean, that's all I really know. I mean, I'm sure if I thought about it, I could make stuff up.
I think you did better than I definitely would have done, and most people probably. So,
do I get points for that?
Yes, 7.
I'm in the lead. I'm in the lead, Justin.
Well, you started with the -4 though, so that actually puts you at 3 points.
Coming up on your heels, Justin.
All right. So anyway, so it was originally created to secure the humane treatment of animals and livestock in transit. So things such as like safer and more humane accommodations for cattle being transported, or more regulated rest and treatment for horses used in commercial transportation, that kind of stuff. And they are a watchdog group. And then in early cinema, animals were already a heavy feature, and that is because, you're talking about the early 1900s, so horses are still being heavily used, whether it's for off-camera and on-camera, just the practicality of what's available, equipment and everything at the time. So horses are playing a very large part in early cinema. But as far as maybe hero animals, there is, let's see, it was 1905 was the first hero dog movie. It was called Rescued by Rover. And then a little bit later, Rin Tin Tin cinematic debut came in 1924. And if you think about what's contemporary at that time, that's why I was saying like horses would be on and off camera because it's literally like 1910. So that was coming with a lot of various issues as far as the treatment of these animals. And word is getting over to the American Humane Association. And at the time, there's not much they can do other than try to be proactive and say, hey, you know, we're just here to give some advice, you know, blah, blah, blah. But early filmmakers were pretty horrible people, and they were either denying them from even being able to come on a set, or they were somehow trying to like sneakily get away with abuse and these other things, which is really horrible when you think about it.
Well, even when the AHA, I'm sorry, yeah, the American Humane Society.
AHS.
Sorry, yeah. Even after that, we're going to see that people were working around stuff, and they still do.
Oh, yeah. By 1925, the rumors regarding animal cruelty on sets was pretty active. And so in that era, you have some actors like Errol Flynn, amongst others. I mentioned him because I didn't recognize the other names. But they had come out publicly condemning some of these early filmmakers for the reckless endangerment of horses and stuntmen specifically.
Well, after Ben-Hur, like one stuntman had died and at least 5 horses had died.
More than 5.
Yeah, at least 5.
It's bad.
I think that was like one stunt.
The stuntman, you know, that's an interesting. Because I've been doing all this side research on Ben-Hur, which is actually what got me to this, and I'm still trying to figure out if I can do Ben-Hur into an episode. There's a lot of mystery surrounding that stuntman situation. Like, it's not even completely clear if the stuntman died or not. So there's a little misinformation. And
do you know what the stunt was when this?
It was during the chariot race.
Yeah, I figured.
Yeah.
Okay.
But like if you watch the 1950s Ben-Hur, there's a stuntman that looks like he gets run over. And I mean, it looks brutal on camera. And I had long thought that was the infamous stuntman dying thing. And then I learned,
yeah,
no, it's the
I thought
1920s
so too.
one.
Right.
And so I haven't been able to find a copy. Oh, I mean, I'm sure I could order it, but I haven't been able to find it on streaming or anything like that to watch the original Ben-Hur. So I am curious to see like what you see on camera. But the story I'd always heard, and you tell me if you'd heard differently, but it was that they left it on camera, and so it made it into the movie, and then the family of the stuntman sued, and apparently they settled or something like that. But then when I'm actually doing this research, I'm not finding like,
yeah, I don't know anything about that.
So it's interesting. You know, we can get into it more if I'm able to get to the bottom of it. But yeah, there's a lot of Ben-Hur mystery going on.
So are you considering this like the first movie, like first time on film that the animals were harmed?
No, it goes back. So people's interest in the macabre and, you know, the moving picture being a brand new thing, people are taking advantage of it in different ways. So, for example, Thomas Edison.
This is what I was getting to. Yeah.
Well, you want to talk about it?
I mean,
it's horrible.
Trigger warning is the title. You can judge a book by its cover on this one, folks. It is called Electrocuting an Elephant. I have a deep love for elephants, and this whole episode is a trigger warning, by the way. If you are an animal lover or a human being that has any kind of compassion for other beings.
He was pushing to show his...
well, that's the thing. Fuck you, Thomas Edison. Nikolai Tesla should have just like
his
taken
direct
it all
current,
over.
I think is what he was trying to...
Yeah. So there was apparently this elephant...
Oh,
that was from a circus, right?
already,
and they were like, he was kind of a dick, because he was trapped in a circus, right?
That's right. He was sentenced to death.
Yeah, they were going to hang him by the neck. First of all, apparently,
I shouldn't be laughing.
The train. It's not funny. I'm not finding this amusing.
I'm laughing. I'm just laughing at the whole idea that it's like like this elephant who can't speak for itself or anything. They're like, I declare this elephant sentenced to death. As if like the elephant's like, no, wait, hold on, I didn't do it. It was
I need a jury of my elephant peers.
The elephant just wanted to be on the Serengeti with its family, and instead it was put into a shitty
so
circus.
Yeah, it would be an asshole too. So anyway, so this poor elephant, they were going to do this, and they had some other methods as well that they thought about. And then Thomas Edison was like, "Oh, I can help you," because he wanted to push his current, which is the AC.
It's the DC, I believe, is the direct current.
Yeah.
Is his thing.
Yeah. So, thanks, Thomas Edison.
50-50 there. I could be wrong.
Just another reason for me to dislike you.
So that was like, it was, I guess you could say, worst time for that. Killing two birds with one stone. Because he's showcasing one thing while also they're showcasing the early world of the moving picture. And so audiences, what's fascinating about this time period is that we're going to get into it as well, but you have heavy censorship coming into play. And it's, talk about like people don't change. Today, you still see similar things going on in modern world, but even back then, and say like the 1910s, you're coming out of that Victorian era, and so you still have all these like super conservative types that like, there was an early movie that it was a short film essentially that's about kissing, and people were like abhorred by it as if it was porno.
Did they show an ankle as well?
I think I saw a clavicle.
Straight up porn.
Yeah, it's a little high ankle. But
it was called Supercock, right?
Yeah, it's called Supercock. Okay. There's a lot of this weird world where you have this kind of censorship conservative world, but then you also have this morbid, showcasing of horrible stuff, the macabre going on simultaneously. This is the era of the freak shows and the crazy circus world and everything. So you really have an interesting dichotomy that's going on socially of this.
I mean, you could go to a circus and, the word geek comes from somebody who bites the head off a chicken. So like...
thank you, Nightmare Alley, for teaching me that one. Yeah. Didn't know I was going to learn that in that movie.
So what year was the Humane Society formed?
Sorry, Justin, that was 1877, and thank you for asking.
And what year did Edison's film come
1903.
out? Oh.
Yeah.
They were not on the job
They
yet.
were not on it yet. It was in the 1920s when they were starting to try and get involved. And so we're going to get into it a little bit, but this era, it was fairly common for untrained stuntmen to be performing with untrained animals. And least surprisingly, things often ended up with injuries or something worse. And so in 1930, the Motion Picture Production Code, more commonly called the Hays Code, was created by the Motion Picture Producers and Distributors of America, which is the precursor for what the MPAA, Motion Picture Association of America, is in modern days. So,
what was it called? The Hays?
The Hays Code.
The Hays Code.
And it's not important really, but it's named for the guy that was the head of the MPPDA at the time. Most of the Hays Code was horrible. It is the exact absurd censor rules that were in effect for decades. So like, you can't kiss for more than 3 seconds, no tongue, like all this kind of
Mormon
stuff.
rules.
Yeah. But you
Current day.
You can jump, but you can jump on a bed as long as the people, never mind.
As long as your ankles don't show.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Of all the dumb censorship and stuff, which, it basically peaks in the 50s under McCarthyism, but this is kind of the ascension of it all. And one of the more positive aspects of this is that in those guidelines was the very first standard, I guess you could call it, for animal treatment. And basically, the MPPDA teamed up with the Humane Society to make them sort of like the enforcer, but basically they gave them the credence to justify, hey, these people should be on set to make sure that things are going smoothly, kind of thing. And in the beginning, it wasn't going well because like I had mentioned earlier, some early filmmakers were like, who? What? No, but I'm trying to kill these horses. Get off my set. So that kind of business was going on. I would say 1934 to 1968 is probably like the actual enforcement years, and we'll get into a little bit more of that in a minute. But
So after Land Without Bread.
yes, after Land Without Bread. But what we're going to get into...
You're going to hear me use that. No, I'm going to try to keep it to a minimum, y'all, but it's like,
yes.
Sorry.
And with that said, I'm going to get into our second trigger warning, I think is where we're at. So in 1939, a movie called Jesse James had a stunt where the hero James was being chased by a posse. He and his horse make a daring leap over a cliff to elude the pursuers. To do this stunt, they had to blindfold the horse, and the stuntman was tasked with racing the horse up a greased platform where at the right moment, the platform was tilted to send the horse and stuntman 70 feet below to the water off the cliff. The stuntman survived. The horse survived the initial impact, albeit with a broken spine, and the horse panicked, thrashed violently, and they couldn't get it out of the water where it drowned.
How many times did they do this? I couldn't find that information. How many? Was it a one and
It
done?
was a one and done.
I mean, obviously the
Yeah.
horse is going to die after that. I mean, there's no way.
Even
a
if they
horse
got
is
out of the
gonna
water,
survive. Right.
yeah.
I mean, that's God.
So when news of this got to the AHA, they set out and led a major protest of the film. And this particular incident is what prompted them to open an office in Hollywood. So now they have boots on the ground, essentially.
Well, there were actually a few films in 1939 was a big year for animal cruelty in the movies.
I glossed, go for it. I glossed over some of that because I was like, I'm going to take the Catalyst one.
Stagecoach, which is a John Wayne movie. Mm-hmm. This one is, yeah. Anyway, so John Wayne's double, he decided, he was the mastermind, I think, of this. It's called the Running W, but it's a tripwire. And basically, the wires are attached to the horse's forelegs, and then they're threaded through a ring on the cinch, and it's secured to buried dead weights. So once it runs its course, the horse just basically trips itself, and it's horrific.
Yes.
It obviously has since been banned, but I'm not exactly sure when it was banned.
Far later, and we're actually going to get into it because horse tripping is occurring as late as 1980, and yes, it's horrible.
Yeah.
Justin's face,
that
if y'all
whole
can see it right
thing
now,
is
by the
just,
way.
it killed and crippled a bunch of horses on this movie. And this is, yeah. So I'm wondering if Stagecoach, they all came out in 1939, but I'm wondering if it was like a final straw, Jesse James, or if it was
it was
a culmination, or if it was like
it was a little bit of column A, a little column B.
Mm-hmm.
So they're hearing multiple rumors during the 1920s about animal cruelty on set. At the time, though, they didn't have anyone physically in Hollywood, and that's also the era where filming is starting to branch outdoors more. So you're getting into, and basically all these early filmmakers are also trying to push their own boundaries. So they're like, we need more action, we need more stunts, because that's what's going to, really sell this movie or sell this, blah. And so they're trying to go bigger and bigger, grandiose at the expense of animals and sometimes stuntmen. And the AHA is hearing this stuff. But it was specifically Jesse James that was, I guess you could say, the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak. So I didn't make all these analogies. They've been around for centuries. Anyway, it was kind of, I guess, like the thing of like them putting their foot down, where it's like, okay, seriously, we got to get people in Hollywood on the ground there, so we can get closer to this stuff and try to, like, they can't police it, but they can do other things, and so. That having them there with the physical presence and having the backing of the Hays Code and everything is what was giving them that authority. So as long as the Hays Code was there, they had the credence to do these things.
So is this the job of the animal wrangler on set these days?
In what way? Oh, you mean just for the...
is that the AHA
No,
rep?
actually,
Is that somebody else?
It's usually not. That's a separate person.
Okay. I was thinking about that, and I just
And
didn't
that's
get
something,
there.
I mean, I didn't go too deep into it just for time, but animal wrangling is kind of a weird world. I'd love to get an animal wrangler on. But animal wrangling is a weird world. You have a spectrum of legit, bona fide, very good, going all the way into the bad negative of people just calling themselves animal wranglers because they happen to have some exotic animal. I mean, you could say the Tiger King is a fucking animal wrangler. You know, that doesn't mean he actually is. But does he have access to, or well, not now, but did he have access to tigers? Yes. So sure. So that's kind of part of the issue that's ongoing today. We'll get into it a little bit. But answering your question, I don't know what's in place currently as far as like, how do you legitimize that, and how do you, I'm assuming it's more than just looking at a resume. You got to have something else.
Well, I mean, it depends on the movie too. I think a lot of animal wranglers are horse people when that's necessary, and they lead it up. But then there's also the guys who are like making sure no snakes bite anybody when we're in the swamp.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Alligators and whatever.
For
We
this,
need to get an animal wrangler on this show.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
A real animal wrangler. I mean, any poser animal wranglers, don't call us. Anyway. But for about 25 years, this was sort of the industry standard. In 1966, due to a variety of challenges I'll mention in a minute, the MPPDA was dissolved, and it got reformatted into what is now the MPAA and the rating system that we have today. And then by 1968, the Hays Code was dead, which also meant so was the Humane Society's ability to do its job. So they
What year was that?
They lost their teeth essentially in '68. So since we've been on a roll with social commentary today, I had a note in here. I said not too unlike the current status of the National Labor Board, in that it exists but currently can't do anything.
Most of the government, actually. There we go.
And so now on to the 70s. So
wait.
Oh, whoa, says Heather Ray.
No, I have a question, because some of the movies I came across are foreign films, right? Like Weekend by Jean-Luc Godard,
Yes.
who did Breathless and
Yes.
A Woman is a Woman and all
Great
like
movie.
those new French New Wave film noir kind of things. Amazing movies. But he did do a movie called The Weekend, where there was a lot
not
of
familiar with that.
barnyard brutality. There was a lot of like, for instance, they hoist a pig up and slit its throat.
Third trigger warning.
I already told you this is an entire episode.
true.
This whole episode is trigger warning. We're going to be talking about some
Should we
horrific
retitle?
shit.
Should we retitle the episode "Trigger Warning"?
Seriously, I mean, if you're listening, I apologize, but I think I was cursing Jed more about this episode than I was about the Titanic episode. If that gives you any indication.
We have to. It's important though, because this is ultimately for the betterment.
No, it
of
is.
animals.
It is. I just would have been better off in my mental state having never known most of this stuff.
Well, I mean, that's probably most things.
Anyway, most things, right.
I agree,
But I guess
but-
my question, because I bring that up, and that was in 1967. So before the AHA lost its teeth,
Oh, and
as
sorry,
you say.
before you ask your question, I should point out that things had been waning for a while. So I would say earlier 60s, maybe around 63 or so, so like maybe 5-ish, 6-ish years before, everything was going downhill.
So this is why the 70s really ramped it up with their
Well,
movies.
the 70s ramped it up because the teeth got knocked out.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
And then they went right back to where they were. It's a whole new generation of filmmakers.
The 70s is pretty wild.
Yeah,
It's pretty
same
wild.
horribleness. Which is, it's really, I had it in the notes here, but it's really saying something about certain filmmakers and sociopath behavior.
Yeah, I feel like I was reading all this, I'm like, oh, great, we're doing an episode for all future serial killers and psychopaths to like.
I mean, when you think about
Animal torture,
some
great.
directors that are kind of tyrant-like, and that kind of thing, and you just realize it's like they were there in the 1920s, they were there in the 70s, some of them are around now.
Well, I mean, like as I was doing all this research,
they don't give give a shit
most
about
of
animals.
the time it was because of the director wanting to get a specific shot and blah, blah, blah. So, yeah. Anyway, but my question behind the question was, does the MPA, does it extend to foreign films as well?
It does. It does in terms of
I don't know the answer to
how we regulate certain things on an international level, but it's not to say. So we'll use France as an example. So like if a movie is getting an American distribution, which means international in terms of France, then it's going to have MPAA ratings on it.
But do they come in this? Do they have R-rated movies?
Yeah.
Okay, but the standard is probably different.
Yes. So other countries have their own rating systems that they can use locally, but if it's something going into international distribution, that's when it gets kind of formatted. Or you'll see.
So could it be rated R in the States and probably like PG in France?
It could. Like some.
Does it change? I guess?
Like I think like Japan, for example, I want to say instead of R being 17 years old, I want to say their version of R is like 15 or 16. There's like little subtle things like that. But the rating system is also sort of arbitrary when you think about it.
Totally.
Like, and we've all seen movies where the rhyme and reason doesn't add up, where you're like, how is this one PG-13? And yet I swear basically the same content over here is PG. And
because you said fuck twice instead of once.
Right. And apparently they were paying attention that time.
Yeah.
But you also have definitely seen where it'll say, this motion picture has not yet been rated by the MPA. And so they'll even tag that or just the term unrated, is basically saying that we're releasing this without the blessing of the MPAA. There's a fascinating documentary. I don't know the title offhand because it's been several years, but the MPAA is a weird organization. It's largely made up of seemingly regular Joes, like house moms and that kind of stuff. But when you get into the nitty gritty of it, there's a lot of shadiness that goes on there. I think there's a lot of back channel, backroom kind of business.
Maybe we should have an episode about that. But
I would
getting
love
back to this, I think I set us off track on purpose.
Nope,
but we do actually need to get back to this.
But yes, so 70s, as we sort of mentioned, the lawless 70s of filming. You had, so what I was alluding to with the kind of a dissolving of things going downhill in the 60s, you have the rise of television, you have foreign films gaining popularity, which you mentioned some. You have challenges to the censorship in courts. The Supreme Court actually heard some decisions as well. Because, 60s, 70s, obviously boundaries are getting pushed, things are getting tested. The social norms are no longer acceptable. And anyone paying attention, the censorship stuff made no sense. Like, it was often very contradictory and confusing.
Well, it's
People didn't know
also
how to
dependent
enforce
upon the zeitgeist of, we ebb and flow as to how conservative we are when the way we think. So I'm sure that translates into what's rated R.
And there was, and I hadn't mentioned this, there was literally two guys basically combing over all movies.
Cool.
So every project that was happening, there were two guys, and like studio presidents were basically calling them, going like, "Hey, dude, I need you to hurry up on that. We got to get that thing to picture." And they're like, "Bear with me," because they're reading like 500 scripts, kind of thing. So when I'm reading that, I'm going like, why would it have been so hard just to get a third, fourth, fifth person? Like, whatever. But anyway, so it was a broken system that wasn't working. And then when boundaries started getting pushed, it was easy to push because you just didn't have the people in place. You didn't have a clear regulation and oversight. So that's how you get to this dissolving, and then you get to the 70s. So in breaking through the unrealistic censorship of the Hays Code, it wasn't difficult because of those reasons. So unfortunately, when, with that getting dissolved and then losing that humane treatment part of it, now you're kind of back to square one. You have a deja vu going on. You have certain sets saying, get off my set, not allowing the Humane Association anywhere near them, which just a general PSA, if you're going to do something shady, usually the way to not get caught is to not be hiding things out in the open when you're like, no, you can't come and look at my thing that's totally on the up and up. That's kind of pointing you towards being nefarious, like sort of how it works.
So when you don't disclose things ahead of time, nefarious, yes.
I know, right? So yeah, there was nothing really that they could do about it. And it was just a general issue because there was no way to stop. And I'll actually give an example of I'll use Underground Season 1, as I've always say is the worst thing I've ever worked on. This is background extras, and the idea for the scene was that so slaves have escaped the plantation. The master of the plantation is trying to punish the slaves to get them to talk, to say maybe where the escapees went. And the director wanted them to hold real cross ties, railroad cross ties, which are
Heavy
roughly 300 pounds a pop. Yeah. And he wanted like several of them to hold them above their heads while they're being like interrogated.
I mean, they're like 8 by 8, right? Railroad ties, solid.
I'll just say I was in much better shape then. And me and one other very healthy guy can barely move them. I mean, like they're not easy to move.
Heavy.
So we had fake ones made by a construction department, and they had been painted and all that stuff. But the director didn't like the way they looked. So he was really pushing for us to do it. And so I went and got the stunt coordinator. And I got the stunt coordinator. I got the first AD, man in charge of safety. Let's not forget that. Got them over to the director and said, this is a safety issue. You guys take it over because no one's going to listen to the prop guy. So the stunt coordinator said, we can get my guys. We can put them in wardrobe, and then, we'll have them hold them up. And then the first AD's, talking about logistics and time, how long that would take and everything. And the director's going, no, it's fine. We'll use the fake ones. Like, he was so bummed out. And meanwhile, I'm going like, I mean, how can you not see that that's a horrible idea? I mean, if one person lost their grip on that and that thing came down, that's a broken neck.
I mean, thank God for stunt coordinators a lot of the time. Honestly, if I ever have safety issues, like if I see things going on, I will go to the stunt coordinator because they always listen to the stunt coordinator, as they should.
Yes.
I mean,
yeah, they rarely listen to us. Like, it doesn't matter. No. Like, if this isn't related to a costume, then there's no way you could possibly know anything about it. Right. That kind of talk. So anyway, I'm just using that as an example that these mentalities and things are still going on today. So back to the 70s, the AHS came up with a good idea. And around the time, to get around some of these new obstacles, they created the awarding of the No Animals Were Harmed stamp of approval. And the first movie that ever got it was called The Doberman Gang in 1972.
Wait, I thought it was The Amazing Doberman.
That's a sequel. So there's several Doberman movies.
Right.
Shout out to my bestie Jonathan, who since childhood has been a fan of the Doberman movies.
Gotcha. Okay.
I've never seen them, but he tells me they are extremely bizarre. But unfortunately, at the time that they're coming up with this little workaround, it doesn't really mean anything at the time. It's just them trying to figure out ways to get around their issues of not being able to control some of these sets. So, unfortunately, I should say real quick, the original Doberman Gang, it's about an animal trainer that trains a 6-pack of Doberman pinchers to commit a bank robbery. All right, moving on.
A must see.
I know. Wait.
Right. And there were a bunch of them.
Right.
And then in between that and the sequel, he goes to jail for the bank robbery.
Oh, the Amazing Doberman's like the 4th movie.
Oh, okay. Man, I got to get into it now.
I know. Should this be our summer miniseries?
Might have to be our summer miniseries.
How many are there?
I believe 5.
Oh, good Lord.
That's a good number.
Yeah, that's it. It's a pretty good number. It's less than 9 is what we said. That 9's a lot. All right. So anyway. So the reality, however, was that the AHA and its new stamp didn't hold any actual power. It was just more of a symbolic thing. And we're going to get into it in a full episode later at some point. I don't know, fourth, fifth trigger warning. There's a movie called Heaven's Gate that came out in 1980.
Oh, you're skipping over the whole 70s, man.
Well, that's, we're not trying to make this a multi-parter. But just know that things were going bad in the 70s. But again...
Well, I do want to say, actually...
Go ahead.
I mean, there were a bunch. Pink Flamingo, John Waters, who...
Oh, yeah, I didn't include that one.
If he's your thing. I mean, there was like a chicken fetish, like sex scene with chickens, and one of the chickens died, and like at least one of the chickens died. It's like...
Oh, it's a horrible scene.
I've not seen it because I'm not a John Waters fan.
I'm
not a fan of that genre, which I know is an unpopular thing to say, but there it is.
Oh, you mean the bestiality genre?
Yeah.
You don't like that?
I know. Oh,
You're not
freaking weirdo.
into that?
Yeah.
I'm so conservative. I really need to uncover my ankles.
Yeah, it
now
used to
and
be
again.
cool, Heather Ray.
I know. I'm the worst. But Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid.
Yes. Another bad one.
Yeah. I mean, they were blowing the heads off live chickens. They buried up to their heads.
Mm-hmm.
Like they buried their entire bodies, and then their heads were above the ground, and they were blowing them up. It's nuts. And the director wanted to shoot a horse through the neck while it was galloping at
with the
top
rider.
speed,
Yeah.
and it was the stunt man.
Yeah.
And whether this is true, but he was like,
he lied.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I figured as I was reading this, I was like, oh, he just made this up. He was like, oh, I've seen that happen before. I've seen that, and it just doesn't look good on film.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that guy's full of shit and totally brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Call.
He's a future director. No, it was
Hey, can you pick up this rail tie for me?
What I'm glossing over that you were mentioning there is basically it was history repeating itself. I had mentioned deja vu earlier, and kind of like Jesse James, things came to a head again with Heaven's Gate. These other movies were certainly not going by the wayside. They were fully aware of it, but at the time, the AHA hadn't figured out yet what to do, how can they do it.
the AHA was not allowed on set.
Right. So
how you get away with that now? You don't.
So Heaven's Gate not only refused to cooperate with AHS, but the abuse was so horrific and outlandish that it forced change regardless. I guess you could say it's a bit of irony. And yet another trigger warning. Some of the horrible abuses included, but were not limited to, actual cockfighting, horse tripping, again, here you are decades later, horse getting blown up, a steer that was bled so that the production could use the real blood to smear on actors and other things.
That was disemboweled. It was disemboweled.
Because the director didn't want to use fake blood. So what the AHS did for this learning about these atrocities was it called for a boycott of the film after it leaked the accounts of all this abuse to the international media. So it was a pretty... with their limitations, I think it was about as good as they could have done. And
I have to ask a question
Sure.
while I'm thinking about it, because you're saying that, the whole disemboweling thing, and they wanted it to look real and stuff. Now, big Godfather fan.
Horsehead.
And as I was watching, the Horsehead, I was wondering, because what was the name of The Offer, right? It's called
To be clear, not a real horse.
Okay, because when that happened, I'm like, no, that's not real, is it?
No.
Because it was in the Offer. Is that what it's called? The television show about it. I might be misnaming.
I don't know
about the making of The Godfather.
It's called The Offer.
The Offer. Okay, yeah, because they were like in there, and they were like, fuck it, let's use a real horse head, right? Or am I making that up in that?
I heard
that
something
show.
about that.
So I was like,
so
it put it in question, and I never really looked further into it. And
to the best of my knowledge, it's a fake.
I hope it's a fake. We'll go with fake.
Yeah, and in my memory, it's because and maybe this is what
I feel like it would have made the list very clearly as the most well-known movie on this.
I think you're right.
List.
It's too big of a movie for
Yeah.
that to not be,
Right.
known.
I'll say
Unless it sleeps with the fishes.
Ew.
I'll say it doesn't look real to me. The horse head.
Yeah,
Have
that's
you
the blood to
seen
me
a
is
set?
fake. Is that 70s fake blood?
It's the head looks too small to be like a fully
Good.
grown
Okay,
horse.
I'm-
Like
Yeah.
it looks
Sold.
unproportional. Sorry.
No, I am sold. I am very happy to hear this information because it did not occur to me until you were saying, "Oh, they wanted it to look really real."
Yeah.
No,
well,
I don't care about that. Yeah, still, I mean,
You don't care
It's an
about
alright
the
movie.
person?
No, I don't care if it looks real.
Get out of here, Justin.
At any age, the scene has worked fine on me. I've never
I believe that-
changed my opinion. Like, I don't know about that horse head. No, I'm still as horrified.
As a props guy too.
Yeah.
Huh?
Seeing it for the 30th time is the same as the first for me.
Fair.
It's still horrible.
It's horrific.
It's
But
also
not real. Yay!
It's also how I now associate anything horrible I find in my house. Like if my dog poops on something or something like that, I feel like I'm seeing the horse head all over again. But anyway,
Speaking of severed animal heads,
boy.
I worked.
I can't wait to see where this is going.
I know. Go
I
ahead.
worked on a show recently where, and we were just out on location, out in New Orleans East, and there was. It was like this abandoned road where all these dump trucks travel to go to like this, waste area to go dump their
I
trash.
know exactly.
I know-
To the
I
dump,
know.
on the way to the dump.
Yeah.
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 And there's this road. and-
Almonaster.
You know the dump.
Yeah, but it's like off this. It's like a side road off of
Yeah.
Almonaster,
Okay.
and it's like and it there's this curve that it takes, and there's like these woods back there. It's very True Detective-esque.
Yeah, I buy that.
And so we're shooting back there, and there's a big pile of trash and this rancid smell coming from it. Beginning of the day, we get over there, and hadn't really paid any mind. Obviously, the smell's coming from over there. But come to find out, we went and looked over there, and there's like 30 bags filled with severed sheep's heads.
Oh,
Holy! Why were you digging around the dump?
I wasn't digging around it.
and why did you take it home, Justin? Come on.
Yeah.
Did
I saw somebody.
Did anyone give a why?
No, but there was plenty of theories. And the most logical one that I went
Name
with,
all three, and we will choose.
Well, the first
Which
one
one? No, I'm
was the most True Detective, and that was like somebody's actually like sacrificing goats out there of some sort. And then there was what I thought was the most logical explanation was Vietnamese restaurant owners tend to be pretty.
It was in the east.
There's a lot of those kind of guys out in the East, and I'd be willing to bet they just
The Wild Wild East.
just it's food for their restaurant. That's where they go and dump the heads of
I
the
wonder where they
of the
found all the
goats.
sheep. I don't know. A sheep farm around here.
There are
Or sheep or goat. It might have been goats. It might have been goat
Goats
heads.
make
yeah.
more
But there's a lot of. I do know that
I didn't look
I
close
love
enough.
goats. Yeah, that's fair.
there's a lot of local livestock and produce that Vietnamese are doing with their restaurants and stuff.
Makes sense.
I know that because I use ground pork in certain recipes, and if I go to the Vietnamese markets, it's way cheaper than it is at, say, like a Rouse's or
Give me a
whatever.
list.
And
Places
and
you go.
I learned why is because they are
No middleman?
They're slaughtering their own animals, basically.
middleman.
Yeah.
Yeah, no middleman.
So I think it is feasible.
Yeah.
And yeah, the Hong Kong market, West Bank, and Golden. What's the place in Metairie? Golden.
The international market, and that's
No, not the international.
No?
The it's like the Vietnamese Chinese market that's on Severn. Is it? I can't remember.
Just want to apologize to our local Vietnamese restaurants for putting you on blast. If that was you guys.
Hey, if you're raising them and doing what you need to do, and like I'm an animal person. Trust me. But
I will-
Not of it. I
I will support all the Vietnamese restaurants.
yeah.
because
I
they're
would love
delicious.
to support every single one of them with my mouth
Yeah.
and
With my
taste buds.
belly.
Yeah, my belly.
All right. So basically, after the AHA leaked the abuse accounts to the international media, it became a big storyline. So a lot of bad press going to Heaven's Gate, and the controversy.
They blew up a horse.
Yes, they did. The controversy was enough to give the AHS its authority back, with SAG, the Screen Actors Guild, and the AMPTP, parentheses, back when they did good things, contractually authorizing the animal rights group oversight, both domestic and international. So,
oh, interesting.
So it would take all the way to 1988 for the formal guidelines we still follow today to be worked out and implemented. However, it was Heaven's Gate and the bad publicity which sparked the AHA getting its teeth back. So
again, there was another really horrific one in 1980. Do you know what I'm about to say? The Cannibal Holocaust.
Oh no, that one I didn't have.
This is an Italian movie, and it was like the first foray, from what I can gather, into like the mockumentary type of thing. And it was about an Italian camera crew that gets lost in the Amazon and comes across
as you do,
comes across the native tribe, and there's
always cannibals,
rape and violence and cannibalism, as the title would
rape
suggest.
Doesn't seem extreme.
And they also killed. No, it does not. Honestly, well, like we were talking about, it's like we would rather see humans be destroyed than animals. You know, I mean, because people are assholes and animals are amazing.
Yeah,
and pure.
Except
and
for
don't
that elephant.
That elephant can come and live in my backyard on my compound. Okay, like it's
criminal
happening.
Elephant.
But the serious trigger warning here, by the way. They killed a bunch of animals, including ripping apart a sea turtle.
Oh God.
Yeah, like dismembering it. I mean, why? How does this further the story? How? I have not seen it.
Well, I hope it was endangered.
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
That is absolutely horrible.
Horrific.
So, was there more to that?
No.
Was there more horrible to that?
It's just, it was the same year as Heaven's Gate, so I'm wondering if that, in combination.
I'm sure it was.
But Heaven's Gate was,
I'm sure it was like the 20s, like I was mentioning earlier, where it's the build-up, it's the collective, and then there's a peak catalyst.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's essentially what's happened twice now.
Well, it only took it took like a decade this time, though, because, I mean, the 70s, as we said, really...
Well, I mean, I guess you could argue it was taking longer before.
I mean, Apocalypse Now. They hacked
Now.
apart a water buffalo.
Yeah.
And when I saw that, I was like, that can't possibly be real. And it's so visceral in my brain. I have a terrible memory. I close my eyes and say that, and I can see every bit of it.
He was really torn on that, no pun intended, but I had read an article where he was basically, the locals do it as a thing.
Well, they hired a local.
And so he was thinking with the parallel analogy of it all and everything. So that's why he decided to film it and let
apparently
it go.
this native tribe that they cast, it was an actual native tribe from the area that they cast to be Colonel Kurt's minions or whatever, disciples or whatever. Apparently this, exactly. Apparently this water buffalo is already marked to be killed in a ritual sacrifice by this tribe. Whether that's true or not, or just kind of.
I mean, the article I read, he was on the up and up about it. Like, as far as, I mean, I don't think, first of all, it's the 70s and all that, that we just talked about is going on. But then also, I think someone like, say, Francis Ford Coppola, who's already experienced all the success and everything, he's looking at it for, his filmmaking, directives, but he's justifying it because he can say exactly that, where it's like, well, it was already
going to die anyway.
It was already going to, it was marked for death.
It's like, well, there's other films that, like,
not to be confused with
let's take a sick
movie.
donkey. It's sick anyway, so why don't we cover it in honey and knock over a couple beehives? Why don't we do that? I mean, I did not like this rabbit hole I went down. And if you want to talk about bunnies, I have a movie about bunnies too.
No, we're good on that.
Good God.
In winding us down, I'm going to say Po Buddy's Nerfect, because while we can definitely call all of this a drastic improvement and way overdue, the system is still far from perfect today. Abuses still occur from time to time, and there are definitely projects where the no animals were harmed stamp is awarded under questionable circumstances. To give a few examples of these, and thank you, Collider, and whatever trigger warning we're on, in 2013, a Bengal tiger almost drowned on the set of The Life of Pi. 3 racehorses died over 2 seasons of the HBO series Luck. A husky dog was repeatedly punched by its trainer on the set of 8 Below. A trainer dropped, stepped on, and killed a chipmunk on, also on, I believe, 8 Below, if I have that right. 24 grazing animals, mostly sheep and goats.
But that was an accident. That was not, like, that was...
The word accident wasn't in the sentence
okay.
that I copied.
Was it an actor, chipmunk actor? Or was it some chipmunk that ran across the set and something fell on it?
Or was it the same trainer that was punching the fucking dog?
Yeah.
It not confirmed, but I would not be shocked if that was true.
Yeah.
But 24 grazing animals, mostly sheep and goats, they died from exhaustion and dehydration while filming The Hobbit. And the AHA has rationalized these incidents and others in a variety of ways, such as downplaying some injuries, declaring deaths unintentional, some deaths deemed necessary, maybe like that water buffalo, or the incidents were not work-related.
And it's related to the elephant in 1903. Right.
And now, and y'all might be able to help me a little bit, but I can defend this a tiny bit for the AHA because I know some people that worked on Luck, which was filmed in the Lafayette area.
That's the last one. That was 2012.
Yes, and Dustin Hoffman, it was an HBO series, and 3 thoroughbreds died over 2 seasons, and they were investigated and they were deemed freak accidents. I do remember that being a thing. And HBO had to shut down the show because they're like several racing horses are dying.
It's not the first thoroughbreds that have died in the filming of things either.
And that's the thing. It's like, first of all, poor choice on your show being called Luck. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
But you have a show about racehorses and you have racehorses dying. Freak accident or not, it's just a bad optic. Yeah. And so that's why it got shut down, which is unfortunate because I heard it was actually a good show.
Now, Old Boy.
Say Old Boy?
Yeah, the movie Old Boy.
Yeah.
But the one that they did here was what, 2000?
Oh, the Spike Lee one that didn't need to get made?
Yeah, that was like 2010s, right?
That feels right. 2010,
the one in 2003, apparently the
Korean one.
Yeah, the Korean one.
Yeah, the good one.
They ate a live octopus.
Oh, yes. The actor had to...
4 of them.
Had to apologize to the... Was it squid or octopus?
It was an octopus.
Yeah.
Yeah. And because was it the actor or was it the director who was Buddhist?
The actor.
The actor. That makes sense. The actor, I mean, because if it was the director, he would have not.
He was giving little prayers to the octopus.
Yeah, he was apologizing to each octopus before.
Yeah, it's pretty
before
horrible.
He did it. Yeah, awful. But that leads me. Okay, so there is that rumor, and I don't know what movie this was, that Nick Cage ate a live cockroach.
Yeah, that was a thing on.
And I wonder if insects are still considered animals, right?
Oh, definitely. I've worked on, I mean, I was going to ask you all this in the wrap up, but I mean, I have worked on sets where like, whether we're talking about insects or we're talking maggots, there was a show with maggots and we actually had a wrangler.
Wrangler?
Yeah, to keep count on all the maggots and make sure that they were okay. So yes, it all the way down to the lowly insect is...
Did they think one of them was Jeff Goldblum?
I vaguely remember one of the maggots going, "Help me!"
Yeah. See, did you help it? No.
Well, it's not my job. I do cops. What am I, an animal wrangler? So anyway, so I mean, I guess in closing that up, it's basically saying, obviously more work needs to be done. Still a vast improvement from where we were, and there's. Just like anything else, there's always going to be things that slip through the cracks. It's just the nature of things. But I think we can, in ending this kind of on a positive note, it's that, especially if we're comparing ourselves to, say, the 70s even, or going all the way back to the 20s, we are doing fantastic by comparison. But, it's just, there always needs to be oversight and regulation for this kind of stuff.
And it's good because, animal wranglers or the AHA rep, which I'm sure has been on sets, but... I just always consider it to be the animal wrangler anyway.
They're usually standing next to the wrangler.
Usually standing next to
it's
the
that kind
wrangler.
of, I don't want to get horribly derailed, but if you ever see somebody on a film set and you don't know who they are and they're very specialist like that and everything, you'll notice they're not really branching out and like chatting with people. They're in their like little nook corner kind of thing. So it's like the AHS rep is basically like, I guess I'll hang out with the animal wrangler. I don't know
We like animals.
You like dogs? I see. I like dogs too. Cool. Let's hang. But I mean, I guess I've definitely seen them on set. I've definitely. I'll mention Underground season 1. One of my only things I liked on that show was, in fact, that might be my picture on the website now that I think about it. But I'm holding a Timberwolf puppy, and it was, look at my face. It was like the most adorable thing ever. And I met the animal wrangler and the AHA rep on that, and
Well, it's good to know that they're around.
yeah,
For sure.
And I'll try to say nice things where I can. The animal wranglers that were the horse animal wranglers on Underground, I can't remember that guy's name, but he was a very famous like top horse guy, whatever his official title was. But all of the horse sequence stuff and his team that he had, they were good. Like it was obvious that this was not their first rodeo. Ha ha ha. But
Well, yeah, I mean, we've all done plenty of period movies with horses in it and whatever. And, I mean, I've worked with, I guess it was the AHA rep, or maybe it was the kitty wrangler on Keanu, when we did Keanu, because there were multiple kittens.
I wish I did Keanu.
Oh, that was a great show. It was so much fun.
They look like
but, yeah, and yes, I did have to tie a do-rag, figure out how to keep a do-rag on that cat's head. One of my proudest moments on set, on the fly.
things
Took some doing that we weren't taking into account.
You didn't know you would have to do.
I mean,
you
need ear holes. Come on, that's what keeps it on.
So normally, wrapping us up, normally I ask this in the beginning, but for this particular thing, I thought it fit better here. But as we're talking about animal dealings on projects such as Do-Rag and everything, have y'all had generally good experiences as far as like interaction with animal situations on sets?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I can't think.
I mean, I do remember getting stranded when I was working on a show in Savannah on a dirt road, and there was a copperhead that we had to trap under a bucket because the whole crew that was in the follow van was no longer. I don't know what happened to the follow van. I have no idea, but it was a bunch of crew.
They're still looking for it.
And there was no animal wrangler, and somebody like put a bucket, like a 5-gallon bucket, over a snake, and it's like, oh, this is super safe. So, other than that, though, I mean, I usually feel really safe with the animal wranglers that I've worked with. I
have the literal one, which I've mentioned on the show before, but if you remember my fish story, the fish and coon man, you weren't here for that one, but.
No. But if it's the animal wrangler, I think you're talking about.
No, not an animal wrangler. Oh. That's the part of the problem.
He's just a fish and coon guy.
That's one of the first. Oh,
he's just a fish and coon man.
Fish and coon man.
That's what his business card literally just said. Fish and coon man with a drawing of a fish and a phone number. And
sweet.
I watched him beat fish against a tree and throw him in the ice chest for us to take back to the show. And
so there was no AHA rep on
There was
that.
no rep there.
Nobody from PETA.
Me and Robert were not ready for that happening. We were just there to pick up the fish.
How could you be?
We were assuming the fish were already going to be ready.
Caught?
And
on ice?
He had them caught. They were in the water. He barehanded them out from the water. These are catfish, by the way.
Was that what is it called when they, it's on the tip of my tongue, when they stick their hands into the things to catch the cat into like
noodling.
Noodling.
What you're talking about.
Noodling, yes.
Yeah.
Was he a noodler?
No, that's more Oklahoma, Okie noodling, if you will.
Arkansas kind of stuff.
I can spin some yarns about some noodling.
All right, but we're not gonna wrap it up.
I'm kidding. Tim Blake Nelson had a noodling story. Anyway, so brag. Fish and Coon Man was jarring, I think is the way I would say it.
I'm jarred by the story of
Robert and I think we're quietly driving back to town, going trying to process what happened.
Let's never speak of this again.
It was very horrible and a bit traumatic. But anywho's, but otherwise, I mean, I've had that with that one exception. Everything else I've ever been around for animal related stuff has always been positive.
Whenever we film in the swamps or out in the middle of nowhere, which is often in Louisiana, the first thing I ask is, who's the animal wrangler? Because, they're called on walkie often.
Yeah.
So
I always like them too, because it's like you know who they are without knowing who they are.
Absolutely.
Kind of thing. It's the one
usually
person
wearing some kind of brimmed hat, possibly camouflage article,
a vest
clothing,
of some sort,
waders,
with lots
possibly.
of pockets,
belt with a few different
shrimp boots, maybe.
Definitely shrimp boots.
Yeah,
tools and things on it.
And then they got the little grabber guy, and they're also walking,
and they're looking at the ground, scanning the ground,
place possible. Yeah. Like they're in the marsh essentially, and you're like, "Who's the idiot?" Oh, that's the ring guy.
What's that guy?
Thank you.
Thank you for keeping us safe, sir, or ma'am.
So that is our episode today on the history of the American Humane Society Association. Both are okay, and then also the evolution of humane treatment of animals on sets. So any final thoughts before we get out of here today?
I'm going to get real drunk to erase all of this information from my brain before I get
You can try. It's never going to go away.
Oh,
like the movie Irreversible.
That's one of the blessings of having a terrible memory. It's all. Next time I read it, it'll be all new. Hopefully never again.
As soon as you go, what was the bad thing? Oh, God, it's back again.
Oh, God.
So Zoe, of course, is not here today, but she did insist. She texted and she insisted that we play this clip from her for the betterment of all. So I hope y'all enjoy it today. It's going to be something you've heard several times before. Enjoy.
Do you like what we're doing here? Do you have thoughts, comments, questions? Maybe you have an idea or suggestion for topics you want to hear about? Well, you can find us on the intrawebs. You can email us at filmfolklorepodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on the social medias, Instagram being Film Folklore Podcast. We have a Facebook group called Film Folklore, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, at The Film Folk. And yeah, thanks for joining us today.
And thanks, everybody.